Well, folks, here we are again for the weekly forecast. But again, before we get to the main forecast, let's take a look at what's happened during this last week. And I think the big news was the very cold air that moved into the state through the weekend and into the early part of the week with some Arctic air infiltration. It did hold on a little bit longer. We did actually see some light snow break out as that cold air tried to push toward the southwest from the Dakotas. And we did see some light snow accumulations across portions of eastern Nebraska. Most areas were probably in the 1/10 of an inch of accumulation to up to 1.5 inches of snowfall accumulation. And most of that was well east of Grand Island, particularly the York over toward the Iowa border. Outside of that, we haven't had a lot of significant moisture. Unfortunately, we've started to see a warming trend as we have another system coming out of the southwest that's going to impact us this weekend, with a potential of another system moving in as we get into the 29th, 30th time frame. And there's considerable uncertainty in regards to this system, and we'll have to pay close attention because a lot of times at this time of year, of course, we can see a system erupt rather quickly and drop a tremendous volume of snow. But after it passes, it looks like we go back into the deep freeze if the models are correct in their portrayal of this system, and the Arctic air returns en masse and may be hanging around for several more days as we go to the end of next week. So let's take a look at the forecast in complete detail, and as we go to the upper air models, what we'll notice is here's this trough coming in the western United States, and there's a southwest flow. There's a little couple pieces of energy that are expected to move out. We should start to see clouds increase as the day progresses, and as we get into the evening hours, it's possible we'll see some light precipitation break out across southern Nebraska and lift toward portions of eastern Nebraska during the overnight hours, and in particular as we get into Sunday, we'll probably see an all-rain event across portions of eastern Nebraska, although it isn't looking very significant right now. There is a potential as we get into southeastern Nebraska, we may see a 1/4 inch. As the system lifts up in the evening, there is a possibility that we could see some light freezing drizzle as the temperatures will slowly rise during the overnight hours, and then we'll see an all-rain type function as we get into Sunday. And here by Sunday, you can see this first piece of energy moving through our region, and here's the system that we're worried about. Is it start to eject toward our region, particularly as we get into Monday. And by Monday, we'll see a pretty significant trough carved out, and the possibility we'll start to see some snow accumulations, potentially in the northwestern panhandle and possibly even the southern panhandle as we get toward the afternoon hours. I think we'll see that cold front start to push its way through the state, and actually what we will see is falling or steady temperatures over the overnight hours, and by the time we get to Tuesday, we'll start to see the energy sliding to the east of Nebraska, and the cold air will sink in, so our highs are probably going to be set during the early part of the day and slowly falling from there. And you can see there's a big open trough here, so a lot of cold air is going to be pouring out of Canada where we have a very significant snowpack on the ground. So this looks to be a very Arctic air mass that's going to dive well south into the Central Plains, and then it's going to start to shift toward the east. So by Wednesday, what we're going to see is now this trough starts to make its move toward the east. You notice we'll see ridging in the west, but this means that we're going to have a straight shot of cold air coming to our region, and we might actually see some residual snow across the panhandle. We need to pay particular attention to this system because last week it was showing some significant snowstorm across the Central Plains, only to see it disappear as we got toward the latter half of the week, and now it's starting to reemerge. And then I've seen this before where these systems all of a sudden erupt into a much stronger system the closer we get to the event. So pay close attention for further updates on this system. Now, as we get into Thursday, it quickly lifts off toward the northeast. We're just basically in a northwest flow. At best, we'll see a few scattered flurries, no significant moisture. By the time we get to Friday, we'll see that most of that northwest flow is beginning to shift over toward the Great Lakes, so we will start to see a moderating trend. So if we look at the temperature forecast, what we are looking at is temperatures are going to be well into the 40s this weekend with a chance of light precipitation on Sunday. Then we will start to see a cooling trend during the midweek, and then we'll start to see a rebound in temperatures as we go to week's end. And then if we look at the 8 to 14-day forecast, we keep the cool conditions in our region, and in terms of precipitation, most of it stays well east of us.